Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. Don't get left behind. Hire us today. In 2024, a single building in Council Bluffs, Iowa, drank over 1 billion gallons of water.
Wow, over a billion. Just one building.
Yeah. And, so we could ask chatbots to write polite emails or generate some code. We usually talk about AI as if it just exists in the cloud.
Right, like it's totally invisible.
Exactly. But for you, the listener, especially if you're integrating these tools into your workflow, it's just crucial to understand the very physical, very heavy reality powering this tech.
There is a massive industrial footprint behind every prompt. And well, right now, that footprint is demanding resources at a scale that's sparking some serious anxiety across the country. I mean, we're seeing infrastructure strained to the absolute breaking point.
Which brings us to our topic today. We're pulling our analysis from this really brilliant piece of reporting by Molly Taft. It's an article titled, How Some Data Center Operators Are Tackling Their Water Use Problems. And it was published on Ars Technica.
A great read.
It really is. So our mission for this episode is to unpack why these data centers have this insatiable thirst for water, look at the intense public backlash that's currently brewing, and dive into the impossible trade-offs tech giants are facing just to keep the AI boom alive.
Because to understand why a language model needs water, you really have to look inside the physical data center.
Right. What's actually happening there?
Well, you have tens of thousands of servers running constantly. And the byproduct of all that heavy computation is extreme heat.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't cool those server racks down rapidly, I mean, the hardware literally melts.
Jeez. And Molly Taft notes in the Ars Technica piece that the most common solution is a technique called evaporative cooling, right?
That's the one. Basically, the facility pumps in fresh water to absorb the heat from the servers.
And then that hot water gets pumped outside to massive cooling towers where it evaporates into the atmosphere.
Exactly, carrying the heat away with it.
I like to think of it like the human body running a marathon. You know, you sweat to survive. Your body pushes water to your skin, it evaporates, and that cools your core temperature down so you don't collapse.
That's a really good analogy. They have a highly efficient thermodynamic process.
Yeah.
But the sheer scale is the problem. Like you mentioned, that one Google facility in Iowa consuming 1 billion gallons.
Yeah, and Taft highlights a 2024 report from the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. It predicts that if hyperscalers stick to this evaporative cooling method, they could consume up to 33 billion gallons of water annually by 2030.
33 billion. I mean, we have to put that into human scale terms.
Yeah, definitely.
Molly Taft points out this rivals heavy industrial resource extraction. Like a single fracked oil and gas well uses somewhere between 1.5 to 16 million gallons of water.
And that one Google data center in Iowa used 1 billion. We are talking about a completely different stratosphere of consumption here. At what point does the AI's sweating drain a town's entire local reservoir?
Well, we're already hitting that threshold, actually. And the public is noticing. It's not just an abstract environmental concern anymore.
Right. I remember seeing that recent Gallup poll in the article. 7 out of 10 Americans now oppose data center development in their communities.
With water scarcity cited as their #1 concern.
Wow. And the resistance is so fierce that SpaceX actually had to amend its initial public offering.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To warn investors that local drought regulations could constrain their data center development. It's getting serious.
And the timing makes it so much worse. Taft's reporting brings in Xiaolei Ren. He's a professor of engineering at UC Riverside. And he calls this a highly local, highly regional issue.
Because the danger really spikes in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Summer is when data center cooling needs skyrockets because of the ambient outside heat. And it happens to be the exact moment municipal tap water demands from local residents are at their peak.
You've got families trying to water their lawns or just, drink from the tap during a heat wave. And a mile down the road, a data center is evaporating millions of gallons to keep servers from catching fire.
Right.
But wait, if water is getting these companies dragged into town hall shouting matches, why are some of them still using it?
The tech industry is actually splitting into 2 entirely different camps.
Yeah. Camp 1 is basically the move away from water camp.
That's Microsoft, OpenAI, and Oracle, right?
Exactly. They're trying to design water out of their systems entirely. Taft highlights their massive Stargate expansion planned in several states, including some heavily water-stressed parts of Texas.
Okay, so if they aren't using water to absorb the heat, they basically have to build the world's most aggressive industrial air conditioners. They shift to mechanical cooling. So instead of water evaporating, they use massive, closed-loop chillers pumping refrigerants.
Hmm.
But driving those industrial compressors requires just an extraordinary amount of electricity.
I see. And then you have Camp 2. Google is sticking to its guns on evaporative cooling, but trying to do it smarter.
Right. The author quotes Ben Townsend, Google's global head of infrastructure. He argues a one-size-fits-all strategy just doesn't work, so Google is doing these really detailed 4-year hydrologic assessments.
They're pledging to replenish more fresh water than they use, recycle water, and, disclose annual usage. But I want to push back on these transparency pledges for a second.
Go for it.
Molly Taft uncovers a razor-sharp detail here. In 2021, Google actually funded a lawsuit filed by an Oregon town against a local newspaper.
Wait, what? A lawsuit against a paper?
Yes. The entire purpose was to prevent the newspaper from finding out how much water Google's expanded data center was going to use. They didn't even start disclosing their water metrics until 2023.
That's incredible.
So this pivot to transparency feels like a forced hand.
It's entirely forced by the threat to their bottom line. I mean, look at Santiago, Chile. In 2024, Google had to completely halt plans for a massive new data center there.
Because the court stepped in, right?
Yep. Local courts partially revoked their environmental permits over water concerns. If they don't solve this community relations aspect, the business just stops.
Which brings us to the ultimate, unavoidable engineering dilemma. If water is causing lawsuits and halting projects, why doesn't Google just copy Microsoft's homework, turn off the water taps, and switch to mechanical cooling?
Because of the massive energy penalty we touched on. If you don't use evaporative cooling, you have to use those energy-intensive pumps.
And Molly Taft brings in Professor Wren's research on this. The numbers are staggering.
They really are. His team found that using evaporative cooling during peak demand could free up between 10 to 30 gigawatts of power across the U.S. grid.
Wow.
The AI boom is already skyrocketing carbon emissions. And Taft points out that avoiding water cooling could force data centers to rely on really dirty energy.
And the kicker is, the power plants generating that extra electricity might just use more water off-site anyway.
Exactly. Coal and nuclear plants use immense amounts of water to cool their own turbines.
Even Microsoft, which is moving away from evaporative cooling, is struggling with this. Internal records from a February New York Times report show Microsoft's overall water use is still set to skyrocket.
Right, because the growth of AI is just outpacing their efficiency gains.
It's like playing environmental whack-a-mole. You save the water in the local town, but you burn more coal at the power plant to run the giant AC units. How on earth do we actually win this game?
Well, Taft brings in Priscilla Johnson to answer that. She's the former director of water strategy for Microsoft.
Okay, what does she say?
She agrees the trade-offs are brutal right now, but she argues that public regulation and pushback are necessary to force the industry to design smarter, simplified facilities.
So the pressure is a good thing.
We can't just choose between two bad options. The pressure is what forces true innovation.
Okay, so for you listening, to kind of synthesize all this, the data centers powering the AI tools you use every day aren't just invisible clouds. They're massive physical factories demanding either oceans of water or mountains of electricity.
And it leaves us with a fascinating question to ponder. If AI's physical footprint keeps growing at this rate, will the future capitals of the tech world be chosen not for their tax breaks or tech talent, but simply by which towns have the most water to spare?
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. If you enjoy this free content, buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you and your employees in AI.